Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 7th and 8th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline Comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish. They're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Gilbert, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday nights as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline. Excuse me, everyone, and welcome to Silverline Silver Sunday. This Sunday, February 4th, 2024. How is everyone doing?
Excellent.
Good. What time is it? I am your host, I'm Roland Mann, and I am joined by my usual cast of cohorts, including Mr. Just Got to the Party, Thomas Formonti. Say hi, Tommy.
Look, I've been here the entire time. I was just in another room. I was in another chat. Sorry.
All right.
And Kirk's former co-worker, Mr. Tom Mason.
You all again.
And of course, we're joined by that man in the mask guy, Mr. Mike at W. Belcher. What's up, Mike?
Howdy, y'all.
And of course, Miss Roberta Conroy. How are you, Roberta?
Hey, Roberta.
Doing good. Thank you. Hello.
My favorite of the Sunday people, Miss Roberta.
That's nice of you. Thank you.
It's true. He tells me that when we're biking.
I'm crying on the inside now.
I know.
He's asked me.
Tom, you're number two.
He's asked me before.
Yeah, I've been called that before.
Come on now. Be nice.
And we are joined by the man of the hour, Mr. Kirk Patterson.
Hey, yes.
Malibu accountant, who is here to tell all the deep, dark secrets of Malibu accounting.
Ooh.
What's up, Kirk?
Doing well. Give a shout out to all the accountants getting a little love tonight. That's awesome.
Hey, two words, Kirk. Profit loss.
We only do one word here, Tom. Profit. Thank you.
So, Kirk, we're going to talk a little bit today. We like to kind of go through. We're having this little Malibu tour, a former Malibu tour here. So, first thing we want to do is we want to get. I'll start the questions and open them up to everybody. But we want to get your origin story here. How did Kirk end up from New Mexico? Isn't that where you're from? New Mexico,
Texas.
Okay. How did you end up from Texas to being an accountant for Malibu Comics?
Softball. Was recruited to play on the Malibu softball team. Given a signing bonus.
Play ball.
Things worked out well. Didn't get that Shohei money or what I like to call Tom Mason money, but still for three square meals a day. Actually, I was working for a CPA firm here in El Paso. Said, hey, I want to go live in California for a while. Moved out there. The CPA firm I was working for, Malibu, was a client of ours. And then as Malibu started to grow and started just to publish the Image comics, Christine Sue gave me a call and said, hey, I need some help in the accounting department. Would you be interested in this? And I said, sure, why not? So that's how I got there.
That's easy.
I'll take a flyer on the comic book company.
Yeah.
So where were you living?
In LA, where's I living? I lived in Sherman Oaks. I lived in Marina Del Rey, which was awesome. Had a 1-bedroom apartment that overlooked the boat slips for $1,025 a month back in 1992. Nice. Well worth every penny. Then I moved up to then after about a year working with Malibu, moved up to Calabasas before the Kardashians were popular, and lived there until I moved back to El Paso.
All right. Marina Del Rey, though, man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome.
I could live there.
Yeah,
I mean, not now because it's your 1-bedroom apartment is now about $8,000.
I'm sure. So, and Tom, did you want specific street addresses where I was, or was just sitting there?
I'm going to take my camera. I'm going to take pictures. I'm just going to post them online. Say Kirk Patterson used to live here. I think I think the audience is really tuned in for that.
You brought in that second word, loss. Now, forget the profit part on that. That'll go straight for loss. Thank you.
So Kirk, were you a comic reader or comic fan? Did you know really much about comics pre going to Malibu?
A little bit. You know, growing up, I was a Captain America fan. Had my Captain America action figure because he dominated. Cool. He had his trusty shield he could throw. It was so cool. Read some Iron Man comics and everything.
Yeah.
Pretty much grew up in the baseball, football card collecting stuff over there. And then, you know, as they were a client of ours at my old firm, it was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. And I know what you're thinking. Public accounting, it is pretty sexy and exciting. But I said, hey, let me try the comic book world and see what's going on there. So I learned a lot there. I thought, you know, because like somebody writes a story and then all of a sudden this penciler person comes in and pencils it all out. And, oh, we're not done yet. Now here comes the inker. Oh, there's an inker. Okay, so somebody inks it. Now we've got to color it. Okay, all right. And I was like, whoa. Well, I thought like one guy wrote it and draw it and hey, we're all done. But obviously I was wrong.
Now
and don't forget the letterer too.
Yeah. My favorite part.
Oh, sorry. The letters. Yes.
I always enjoy.
Somebody's got to fill in those word balloons, right?
I always enjoy explaining it to new people about how comics actually work. Because I remember all of the accounting people were like, wait, this person works on the book too?
This many people on this one book?
Person?
What?
I'm paying that person?
They thought you were like hiding money or something like
that. It's actually easier to build a Ford truck going through the assembly line than it is to get a comic book together, I think. I'm not sure. But.
Now, what year did you start there?
I started in the fall of '92, so probably somewhere around September, October-ish.
Okay, so you just barely beat me there then.
Yeah. Right when all the excitement was going on at a whole lot, we were still in Westlake Village. Right. A lot of things going on there. You know, the talk of the Ultraverse coming out was going on. The Image comics we were producing, and just a lot of high energy, a lot of fun things going on. Pretty soon, you know, it was once a week. We had the production meeting, and accounting got invited. I think Tom had to tell me, "Sorry, Kirk, there's no more seats at the table for you. We're a little full in this little tiny conference room," and got booted on that.
Sorry, Kirk. I was doing rolling out today. You'll get the cliff notes.
It didn't matter. Tom missed a paycheck or two. He never knew, you know. So I was like, that's not going to happen. But no.
See, that's what happens when you go direct deposit. No check in hand.
Oh no! Here we go again.
Another second hand thing.
Hey, that's how.
Money
That's how
in
literally-
hand. Money in hand.
And that's literally how I knew who all the employees were, because we didn't have direct deposit. I was handing out the check to the 30 colorists we had, and then everyone kind of quizzed me as to who was who, kind of thing.
It's funny.
And then it came down to, after I got that right, it's like, okay, part 2, you got to the bonus round. The bonus round is who's dating who. Ooh, got quiet there, didn't it?
That gets quiet. Funny.
That's for another show.
Roberta's like, I'm gonna step out for just a minute. I don't need to be
Yeah.
part of
Don't even start
That
that.
was the
married
overnight.
then, so I
That was the
couldn't date
overnight crew. And what they did.
Yeah, the ones that ran out on the earthquake. When the earthquake hit, man, they just bolted from the building and left everything obviously as it was sitting there. I remember that going back.
As they should have.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even think of the. I didn't. You know what? I don't think all these years I realized that we actually had a crew in the office when that happened.
Yeah.
Roland did not even care about the overnight crew.
Oh, look! I was about to die. I didn't. I mean, you know.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Well,
Roland
it's
was
like
living at
The ground is moving. I'm going back to Mississippi where we can just outrun a hurricane.
That's right.
This ground, I can't outrun the ground. It is
Nope.
moving on me.
Yeah, but you guys were just fine. I was going to Northridge, so
No,
no
I was
fun.
in Northridge.
No fun. I know it.
Yeah.
You were not fun.
Yeah.
I said Malibu
No.
was fine.
Roland was
Oh
living
yeah,
at-
Malibu was fine. Yeah.
No, we.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were not.
So
No.
in the earthquake, Roland, nothing of yours got broken personally, right? I mean, like you didn't break a leg or an arm or hit your
Correct.
head.
None of my body parts got
Just
broken.
just the house you were living in.
So it's
I
only
lost all- I
it's
lost
only
all
when
my
you leave
fish.
the house that you injure yourself.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like, a lot of
That's
our
another
personal
story I can
items
tell
you.
were destroyed. Yeah, but no, neither one of us were. Neither one of us had any physical,
Right.
personal physical injuries to
But
ourselves.
you didn't have
And
any
I know-
stuff. All your stuff was broken.
Yes.
Yeah, good
And-
bit of the stuff was broken. Yeah, like
And what
anything
wasn't broken, we took, because I was over there, Rob Sutherland, a whole bunch of people went over to help him move. And the same with Eric Senna. We were moving Eric Senna. His apartment building was red tagged, and it was up, I'll say, 6th floor.
Oh, yeah.
And then an aftershock came, and you just see everyone running out of the building.
Everybody went.
It was weird. I never moved that fast in my life. Is to get out of Eric Senna's apartment.
yeah,
don't think so.
Good to know.
it is funny what the ground shaking beneath you will do to you.
Yes.
It's just Mike shaking his head. No,
I'm fine. I never want to feel that. Yeah.
No,
I think
you do not.
Yeah.
One of the times that we were doing San Diego, they said that there was a little tremor, and we didn't while we were at the show, and we didn't feel it. And Roland was like, "Hey, I think there was a tremor today," and I'm like,
you know what? And I don't want to go too deep here, but I now have earth moving radar. If the ground moves, I know it because I'll say so. You guys, BJ, we were in North Alabama, and I said, I think
an
we just had an
18-wheeler drove by.
earthquake, and she said, no, we didn't. You're okay. We're okay. I said, no, I really think we just had a little small earthquake. She saw on the news the next day we had an earthquake.
So what? Now that you have superpowers, what team can you join?
Yeah.
He's part of the rejects group.
That's right.
his
It's
only
up to
power.
heroes.
He could tell if an earthquake happened 2 days ago.
Right.
Yeah, it was 2 days ago, an earthquake. Yeah, that's my power. You add that one. You can go ahead.
That
And add
measures
that.
an
I'll
oh my
give that
lord on
one.
the
I'll
Roland
give that
scale.
one to you, Roland. That, you
Thanks,
can
I
add that
appreciate it.
one. Yeah, you
I would write it down. But
can.
Oh, you can dictate though.
I can. I am learning how to do that. So Kirk. So once you got to Malibu, once you got to be an employee there, did you start? Because you got to get comics. That's one of the things that's one of your benefits as an employee is you got free comics. Right? So did you start reading the Malibu comic books? I noticed just before we went live, you held one up. So
I did. This would be
He told me his
the.
favorite one was Nightman. One of the ones I did.
We've got the
I
Dinosaurs
didn't do
for
that.
Hire number 12 here.
Nice.
There we go.
And what's even better about that, this is why I love. Look right here. If you can see right here, the name on the back of this guy's jersey
Yeah.
was the name of our softball team, the
was that the
Swarming
Mighty
Ducks. The Swarming Ducks.
Swarming
And
Ducks, yeah.
to this day, right here, here's that jersey.
Look at that!
Cool. Very nice.
Wow!
Yeah,
Who did the logo? Do you remember?
I want to say Jerry Bingham.
Okay,
Makes sense.
on that.
it does make sense because he was because he played on the team too, didn't he?
He played on not on that one,
Played
but
on
on the original
something.
Malibu team. He did.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, played some third base for us.
Yeah.
Was he any good?
He was a heck of an artist. Really good artist.
He could draw.
Nice dodge.
Boy.
Ow.
You are right. He absolutely is.
He had the Corvette to prove it. Hey,
He did.
he had a Corvette. I did not. That's all I'm saying.
Mhm.
Do you remember what his little license plate said around the
It was something like paid for by Batman royalties or Spider-Man royalties or
that's
something.
cool.
paid for by Batman royalties?
Yeah,
Because he had done the Son of the Demon book.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paid for by Batman.
Yeah, I think, to my understanding, it's been a little while since I talked to him, but to my understanding, he still gets royalties from that.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
because it's in perpetuity for that guy.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, easy. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the ones that you can go on Amazon and buy that today.
Yeah. DC rightfully keeps that stuff in print.
Good, yeah, as they should. That's a whole nother topic, but all that stuff should be that's easy to keep stuff in print today. So you held do you have a comic collection of your own now, Kirk?
From Malibu. Yes, I do. I still have a few. Yes, I do. I'm not saying that accountants are cheap because these were free that I kept them, but
He kept all of his free books.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much how I'm not all of my Malibu collection, but that's how a bunch of mine. I was in the office and they came around and we got them. Look at that!
Here's your
Wow.
softball shirt.
Mm-hmm.
God, that's
That was a
And
nice shirt.
It
still
smells. It is. It
bright.
smells kind of fresh. Here's one rolling for your heart right here that you gave me years ago when I was buying your original Cat and Mouse.
Wow!
Oh, I
Look at
love it.
that! Oh my
Look at that.
gosh!
That's
And-
awesome.
And when your daughter came through a couple of years ago, you know, when they had the ice storm in Dallas, and she spent a couple nights at my house here, it was like I was looking all over for it and I couldn't find it. Of course, like
Oh.
2 weeks later, I'm like, oh, here it is. But,
It's probably good. She probably would have tried to take it from you.
oh yeah, yeah.
She does that. She goes into people's houses and just takes it.
Steals her clothes.
Yeah. Oh, I bet Roland would like this. I'm going to take it for him.
Yeah, much to her chagrin, I would have been wearing it, and it doesn't fit very well, so that wouldn't have gone well for anyone. You go ahead and keep that, sir. It'll be okay.
So when did you so what's your story then from from Malibu to Marvel? I forgot. I didn't even. I had to go to the comments.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
It was like, as you remember, that whole summer, it was DC was going to get us, Marvel was going to get us, who was going to buy us, and that's right. That was about the same time, you know, with Image Comics and everything. The comic book market was rising, and then all of a sudden it wasn't, and kind of started going straight down. When I talked to some retailers, they're like, I have room on my shelves for 20 comic books, but they're producing 35 to 40 now. I don't know which ones to buy. So a lot of retailers were going out.
Yeah.
And so then the whole, who is it going to be, DC or Marvel? And it looked like DC was winning from my understanding. And then Marvel came in and dropped cash and said, no, I can't have Malibu go to DC because that would push us up. And so Marvel came in and did it. And then we got the call, and this is where I'm kind of, as you know, a smart aleck. You know, they call me in and say, hey, Kirk, you know, your department's really good people. We really appreciate everything you've done. But, you know, with Marvel buying us, all the accounting work can be done in New York. So we're going to have to let you and your whole department go. And I'm like,
redundant people.
and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I go, but don't you have people in New York who write comics and draw comics too? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, are you laying off the rest of our people then too? And that's when I got you just need to leave, smart ass. No, I didn't really get that. But we saw that coming. And so, hey,
Yeah.
it worked out very well. I have no complaints. No complaints.
And then you went back to El Paso.
I stayed around LA for a couple more years, about a year and a half, and then moved back to El Paso.
Yeah.
But man, I was at Malibu. I was trying to go back and figure out how long I was actually at Malibu. It was like 2 years. And I think we packed in about 10 years of living in that 2 years.
If you had asked me, I would have said it was 5 years because it felt like 5 years worth of stuff.
Right?
It's weird to hear that it's 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we had a volleyball team, we had a softball team on Saturdays. We got together and played basketball.
Had a bowling
We
team?
go to the bowling. We did bowling. We go to the Kings game. we were always doing something. And it was crazy. And here, my wife and I like to get up and curl up to a nice VHS movie every once in a while. So I just have to.
Oh, look at that! Wow, that's in primo condition too.
Yeah, I've got another copy that we actually watch. And spoiler alert: in the credits, it says Detective Number 3, Kirk Patterson. But if you listen to it, they actually call me Anderson. So I don't know, but I'm in there. Some guy jumps on my desk, I scream and run away or something like that. The usual.
Nice.
So,
were you in any of the commercials?
I was not. The Ultraverse commercials. Those are awesome too. I mean, there's so many people and people like Darren Doan. Obviously, Darren Doan came out and played softball with us, and I think it was Jeff Godfrey had the purple shiny bat. So Darren's like, "Give me the purple shiny bat." And you look at Darren and you say he's fantastic at everything that he did. Can he play softball? This kid was cranking home runs left and right over Borcher 2 over the fence all day long. It's just shocking. It was like, wouldn't have expected that, and just fantastic. And look at Ken Dario, everything he's done for the Minions now. And those two guys would just run around the office filming things and goofing off all the time. And
they were.
Just everyone was kind of nuts. We were all young. I remember when we moved over to Calabasas to that big office, we had the big kitchen. And the accounting department was on one side, and then the kitchen was in the middle, and production was on the other side, right? So I go out of the accounting department, cut through the kitchen, and here's all these kids. Here I am, big 30 years old now. And these kids are like, I don't know, 15 to 20, and their feet are on the table. and all of a sudden, I'm like Martha Stewart, get your feet off the table,
Snacking people.
All right, Grandpa.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, if I would have had a lawn, it would have been get off my lawn. And that's what the whole Malibu Interactive thing, it was like, wait, we pay kids to play video games? That's crazy. They'll do it for free.
We did. We paid a lot of kids to play video games.
we did.
We got a couple comments here. Mr. David Ace Gutierrez, good to see you, Mr. Gutierrez. Thank you for tuning in. He says, El Paso represent my hometown. I did not know that. He goes, fun fact, Tiger X issues 1 and 2 were drawn by El Paso's own Juan Murrow.
Oh, I didn't know he was from El Paso.
There you go. Nice fun fact.
Nice. Ben Dunn is from San Antonio. So how close is San Antonio to El Paso?
Oh, that's only about a nice 8 to 9 hour drive.
Right.
Yeah, it's right next door.
Right next door.
You can walk.
Let's just say Phoenix is closer.
On the East Coast, you can drive 8 or 9 hours. You end up going through like 10 states.
Yeah.
And the hard part about Texas is, especially El Paso, it's funny, like Midland, Odessa, the whole Friday night football thing, they say they're West Texas. Well, once you get to Midland, to get to El Paso, it's another 4 or 5 hours to us. We're actually West Texas. And if you want to drive across the Texas to go visit Rowan when he's in Mississippi, you start the day in Texas, you're driving 12, 13, 14 hours. At the end of the day, you're still in Texas.
Wow.
Wait, Marty Robbins sang about El Paso, didn't he? Wasn't it Marty Robbins?
Yes, it was. Correct. Very good.
It's the state song, isn't it?
and you might remember the Bobby Fuller 4. I fought the law and the law won. Bobby Fuller was from El Paso.
Oh, there we go.
Well, there you go.
F. Murray Abraham from El Paso.
I would not have guessed that. This has been Trivia with Kirk Patterson.
Geography class.
Mr. Oven Reed says, hello, Silverline family. Hello, Oven. It is good to see you, sir. Thank you for tuning in.
Is he from El Paso too?
No, Oven is a Florida guy.
Oh, okay.
That much I know. I've seen Oven at our local shows here. So,
all right.
Oven is a good Silverline supporter. So, not that they're bad Silverline supporters. That's
you gotta balance it.
That's why you're running them off.
So if any of you guys out there listening have any questions, here we go. All right, Kirk, listen to this. It says, next time I'm visiting folks, Mr. David A. Gutierrez says, dinner's on me, Kirk.
Nice. Excellent.
There you go.
Excellent.
David's a good dude. I've met him several times.
Oh, really?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask, because I think I know the answer. This is the same guy, the letter column writer, right? The guy used to write all the letters to comic books.
No, that's a different guy.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think so.
I think there used to be, and he used to put Ace in quotation marks as a letter writer. So, David, if you're still listening, answer that question.
That's right. Get back to us.
I recall a letter hack.
So should we ask Diane?
We should ask
Thank
Diane.
you. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What a callback.
Yeah. So I if I recall correctly, and I may be getting my names messed up, but the name sounds incredibly familiar, and I don't think I've ever met him. So cool. Where'd you meet him, Tom?
You come to San Diego.
Okay. He said, I have never been a letter hack. Early identity then. Okay.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah. So I met him. We've met online, because that's how you
Right.
meet people now. But I run into him at WonderCon and San Diego Con every year.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It must be one of those California guys now then.
Yes, definitely.
Gotcha. I'll have to look. Through some. I can't remember what. But I want to say it was an independent letter column writer, but I'll have to look around now. But I seem to recall an Ace being a letter writer. So
because we had T.M. Maple and we had
Malcolm
Uncle
Bourne.
Yep, Uncle Elvis was one.
Uncle Elvis. Yep. Melissa Page.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we had the woman who threatened to kill us.
that one I don't remember.
Okay.
Who was that?
Oh well, Mike, I'm glad you asked.
I'm sorry, I'm curious.
I laid out
it?
the softball question, hoping that Mike would jump in. So we were, and oh God, if she's still alive, and she hears this, she'll come at me again.
Right.
So
She's still looking for you.
we were doing an adaptation of Robotech 2: The Sentinels,
Okay.
Oh,
and so every issue that would come out,
those Robotech people.
every issue that would come out, she would write us a fan letter, and in the canon that we were adapting, there's a character that gets killed, and that happened to be one of her favorite characters, and she demanded that we not kill him, and we wrote back and said we have to because that's the series.
That's the story. Yeah.
You can't. If we don't kill him, we don't know where the story goes from that point. So we're required to follow canon, so we have to kill him. And she was livid. Her letters got more and more angrier as she realized she wasn't going to have influence on the story. And the last couple were so threatening that we had to turn her over to the local police and just say, "These
Go
are the
talk
kinds
to
of
this
things
lady.
you get from
Yeah.
this person." Can you?
Dang.
Wow.
Can you swing by her house and
It's comics, people. Jeez.
Well, she was also. It wouldn't have bothered us except that she claimed to be former military,
Oh no. Yeah.
and so
and she lived in your town too. So
well, and I'd watched enough TV and movies in the 80s and 90s to realize that this
I've got kids at home. I better take care of
could
this.
be a thing. So
This could be real.
Dun, dun, dun.
Let's see here. Mr. Rashid Knox, thank you for tuning in, Rashid. Good to see you here. Usagi Yojimbo and the Ninja Turtles crossover. Would like to hear anything about that.
Oh, me too.
Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't?
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm thinking, Kirk, did you have something to do with
Well, no.
No.
Yeah.
Me neither. Mike, how about you?
Not so much.
I think you might be thinking we're somebody different.
I think so. What stream did you join? But thank you for coming.
You are absolutely welcome to ask us questions, and we will do our very best to answer you.
Let me look it up for you.
I don't know anything.
Sounds
about
very
it.
interesting. Sounds
Yeah.
very interesting.
So the way it is Usagi Yojimbo is a rabbit with a sword.
Yeah.
And the turtles, there's
Yeah.
4 of them named after classical
They're
artists.
animals too. Yeah.
And they got together. When a rabbit and a turtle fall in love.
Wait,
Ooh.
there was really a crossover?
I don't know.
Okay. David Ace Gutierrez says, poor Britai.
Yeah, that was the Robotech character that got killed off.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Very nice.
Man, people know some stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Fruit Bat, what's up, Fruit Bat? Fruit Bat says, hola, coloring. And he's not talking about Roberta, which is what
No,
Roberta
he's
is
coloring.
doing.
I'm
Yeah,
coloring.
He is coloring as well. So
Oh, okay.
Coloring off.
That's also how you summon a demon. Is you say it 3 times.
Coloring,
like
coloring,
the
coloring.
Beetlejuice thing, right?
That's right.
That's the new
Kirk,
the new Beetlejuice movie.
so I don't know that much about accounting. So what did you do at because there was an entire department and
how come my checks were always late?
And I'm assuming
I told him to hold him.
Ask him.
Because
You gotta fill out your vouchers.
Kirk, whatever you do, pay for Monty late.
Well, and we sent him to Thomas Senior. Sorry, my bad. We didn't know there was a senior to
He would
junior.
have to forward them to me, because my dad would cash them. That's for sure.
yeah. And Tom would call me and say, "Hey man, I don't have a check." I'm like, "Dude, I signed the voucher. It's out of my hands."
It's good to have friends in high places, Tom.
It's like, I'm going to go to that Marvel company if you guys know. Oh, they bought you, didn't they?
Dude, I signed the invoice. It's out of my hands. What can I do?
So, Roland, basically what I did, I waited every month for the free comics to come out, and then I read them. So, and then I played softball, then I played volleyball,
And
tennis,
bowling,
and basketball, and bowling.
You read them on the clock though.
Well, of course.
Everybody
That's
did.
OT, baby. I'm not doing that on my own. No.
I'll
Because
tell you
that's how
right
we-
now, the colorist did not do that.
When
got
your
those
colorists were
every
like
time.
me. They were tired of looking at them. They didn't want to see them anymore.
So,
Well,
what was your
here's
favorite
what happened
comic? And why was it Dinosaurs for Hire?
Why? What?
I said, what was your favorite comic Malibu did, and why was it Dinosaurs for Hire?
Well, obviously, because of the man right here, Tom Mason.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
right.
when I left, I had. Well, the cool thing is when I first started with Malibu, they gave me this little office that I think used to be a storage area and had some doors, which was really cool. It was plenty of room. I could sneak out the back. And like in every comic, there was like a little poster that came with it. And so I pulled out all the posters and had them all over my wall. And Tom had given me one of his Dinosaurs for Hire one, and I had it on my wall. So right before I moved back to Texas, I asked Tom, "Hey, can you sign this?" And he goes, "This thing's all trashed, man." I'm like, "Whatever."
Tom said no.
Yeah.
Like Tom would do. No, I'm not doing it.
No, I don't know.
Oh,
Well, actually, he said no, but I've got a fresh one in mint condition for $100, and it's $150.
That sounds like Tom. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
important to have a fresh one.
That's right. Yeah, a fresh one. Yeah, I did say that. So no, Tom gave me a brand new one, signed it. It was to my favorite softball playing accountant or accountant playing softball, something like that, which I still have today. So I really enjoyed that. Roland, when you first got there, you showed me some of your old Cat and Mouse, Demon's Tales, went through there. Some of the things were just goofy that we did in accounting. Like, what did we do? Well, we were supposed to pay the creators. We paid the publishers. We did pay nutty things like payroll. And of course, she originally did that when I started. Carolyn Ferrari, she's the one that billed all the retail stores and made sure we got paid on that. She was fantastic about that. Rob Sutherland helped out. Tommy Chan helped out. Rob Sutherland and I would always all of a sudden look up about 6:30 and go, "Why are we still here working when all the production people are gone? What's wrong with that picture? How come accounting's taking so much longer than the production side of it?" So we never quite figured that out. So we started playing like softball in the office. We get like a tape ball and a stick, and we're smacking. The mini blinds were just trashed at Calabasas office. We had a lot of them. But basically that's it. We're putting the monthly financials, the posting all the entries, bank recs, things like that, making sure that information's right, making sure that whole profit and loss area is right there where it should be. But again, it was a blast. It wasn't really, like going to work to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Back in the early days, the 2 years I was there, it was a lot of fun. Like I said, we had stuff going on all the time. I was doing different things. From the accounting side, like with Image Comics, Todd McFarlane was the guy. Every month his book came out on time. Every single month, and every single month we sent him a check for 7 figures, baby. And that's the decimal point was to the right of all those. It was going this way. Rob Liefeld was pretty good with those. He wasn't every month, and he had a couple of different things he was working on. And the rest of the guys were kind of sporadic.
Yeah.
But we went from, we had the Protectors line, which Roland, you had taken over, and we're doing that. Then we did the whole Ultraverse with. We used to have like Hard Case, I think was his name, but we called him Head Case in accounting. We kind of changed everybody's name around. So we had Prime, obviously, Nightman, obviously. Trying to think of a few of the others. And then we started that whole Bravera collection going on there. And so once we got over, it was like Will McGuire, our in-house counsel. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that guy just took the dictionary and copyrighted every single word in there. Man, it was like everything. So it was like whatever words or combination of words. Here's another $300, another $300, another $300.
Yeah.
We killed him when we did the 1,000 trading cards, and we had everybody trademark all the names for the different characters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I still have a box of those trading cards in my garage right now. So
there you go. I'll give you $10 for it.
Hey now.
Only if you pay shipping, because Ken's not
It's
going
not going to cover the shipping.
Because they are coming from West Texas.
That's right. Thank you.
It'll take them at least one day to get out of Texas.
That's right.
Right. So no, it was the people. The people were what made it so much fun there.
Oh, I absolutely agree.
Which was just amazing. Everybody got along. I mean, like when I got there, when we were originally starting the coloring department, I think it was like Albert Caballeros, I think was his name.
Yeah.
Albert, Janelle Cruz, and Shannon. I know they're all married and have different names now. Jennifer was in there, and just starting off like Mike Giles, when he got married, his bachelor party was he took all of us, which was only Malibu guys, I think, out deep sea fishing kind of thing, as I remember.
I remember that. Yeah.
I mean, King's Games. You know, when I first got there, I've been working a little bit, and Rob said like, hey. You know, you kind of like sports. Several of the guys are going to come over and watch the Kings game in my house. Do you want to come? You know, of course you're thinking, do I really want to go to the guy's house who works for me? What if, just doesn't work out? We don't get along. I'm his boss and everything. And I think it was, Mark Christie, Ty Ruley, Mike Brown, maybe Dan Danko were there. So I'm going there, sitting down there. And Rob, being from New York, 2 minutes into the game, he's up off the couch screaming and swearing at the TV for something. And immediately I'm like, this guy and I are going to get along very well.
I remember we went to the live Kings games. He was the same way too. He had the Kings jersey. He did everything but paint his face. He had the Kings jersey on, and he was he's into it.
You're like, wait, that's the dude from accounting,
right? It's like, because like at 11 o'clock on a Thursday morning, he's just sitting there going, okay, 2 and 3, carry the 1, 9.45. And then there's a Kings game, and he's like, yes. It's like he's become a different guy.
Yeah.
That was so true. And the year the Kings went to the Stanley Cup back then, it was one of my best moments. We were watching the game at Rob's house. It was Ty Ruley, Mark Christie, myself, and Rob. The Kings win in overtime. And here's all 4 of us hugging in a big circle, jumping up and down on the patio, And it was just awesome. And
the
then,
only live hockey game I've ever been to was with you guys when I went to see the Kings and the Ducks.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And
Tom, do you remember that photo? There's a photo they took of all of us there, and then all of a sudden somebody photobombed us. The guy in the back, we're like, wait, who's that?
I know. We're sitting there thinking, I don't know that guy. Where's he from? It's like it's just a guy
what
walking
department
by.
is he in?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then the hard part was really with Eric Senna. Eric Senna was from New Jersey, New Jersey Devils fan, and since we all like the Kings, he decided to like the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. So during the Stanley Cup, it was the Canadians versus the Kings, and he bets me. I take the Kings, he takes the Canadians. Whoever loses has to wear the other team's hat for like a month. Well, as you may remember, Ronald's, I think was one of our printers, was in Montreal. So unfortunately, the Kings lost and Montreal wins. And all I know is like in 2 days, I come to work and my door is covered with Montreal newspaper clippings taped on there by Eric, all in French, of course. And I'm saying about the Canadians beating the Kings. And I was like, and yes, I had to wear a Canadians hat for a while. And I learned never bet with Eric Senna again. He's just
because that guy is deep into sports too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A couple other questions here. David A. Scutura says, Yui? Was it
Usagi Yojimbo?
Usagi Yojimbo.
Oh, Usagi Yojimbo. Okay, yeah. It was an episode of the Turtles cartoon. It was part of the toy line in the 90s. Okay. Captain Von Doomfinity Temporis Maximus gets the popcorn out. Glad that you could join us, Captain. Here is a question here. So I kind of really answered this. David A. Scutura says, I don't know if I can get this publicly answered, but one of the big rumors is that Marvel won't use Malibu characters, Ultiverse, etc., because of residual payouts. Is this something you can comment on? Is this question okay to ask? So hold on. Number one, yes, the question is absolutely okay to ask. You can ask anything on here. We might not answer them, but you can absolutely ask anything that you want to on here. And yes, I'm going to let Tom take this one.
Go, Tom.
Yeah, so here's the deal, David Ace Gutierrez, is that Marvel can use any of the Malibu characters in any of their Marvel comic books that they want to forever, in perpetuity, without paying residuals to anybody.
They own them.
They own them, and they own them. The way the original contracts were written, they were transferred to Marvel, is that the only way the original founders get a payout from comic books is if the creators are actually writing the comic books or the old material is being reprinted.
Yeah.
But Marvel can use
anything new
is fair game. Where it gets difficult is that if the older characters are used in a movie or a TV show or a cartoon show,
or there's a different contract with us, that kind of thing.
Then there's a small percentage of that income that Marvel has to pay the creators, but it only goes to the creators after Marvel already collects from the license. But so there's no reason for Marvel not to do it. They just don't want to.
DC's been doing this for years too. I mean, this. The thing about this is it's not unusual or rare or unheard of, or this is not one of those things that go, oh well, no one does that. Well, no, that's a pretty standard kind of thing.
Yeah, because we base the, and this is pre-Kirk, but we base the original contracts on DC's contracts because Mike Friedrich was the agent for Norman Brayfogle and Steve Englehart and a couple other guys, and Friedrich got those guys their work at DC, and so he happened to have their contracts. And when we were putting together the contracts, Ulbrich called him up and said, "Hey, why don't you sneak me some of those DC contracts, and we'll just copy the language.
We'll get a gander at them.
Yeah,
we'll just do the same deal." So
that's the way it works, right?
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this, because I know like Men in Black was Lowell Cunningham or someone. We didn't write it, but we published it. And then obviously the movies came out. Did we have any of those movie rights when that got sold over?
Here's what I know with Men in Black. Men in Black was originally an Aircell comic, and it was creator owned. So it came from Lowell Cunningham as an unsolicited pitch. He just sent it in the mail to me, and I read it, and then there's that thing where we needed a book on the schedule, and I said, I got this thing that came in with aliens and guys in dark suits and guns. Maybe we should do that one. And so we published it, but it was still a creator-owned comic.
Yeah. Okay.
And Lowell still had all the rights. And then when we stopped publishing it, the publishing rights went back to Lowell. So then he had 100% of the rights. And then when William Parks and Laurie McDonald came to the office, they took a look at the Men in Black comic book and said, that thing, we could make a movie out of that. And they had just
and you went, well, we don't get crap for it. Go ahead.
Right. Well, because that was the original pre-Ultraverse deal, is that anybody comes up, would just pass it over to you guys. And so we turned them over to Lowell, and Lowell essentially said, well, I don't know what to do because he's not a Hollywood guy. He's a Tennessee guy. And so then he made a deal with Scott where Scott was going to represent the property to the studio, but not as a Malibu person, but as a Scott person. So that's how. So it was never really affiliated with Malibu Comics, and Malibu Comics didn't get any of the big coin
credit,
which is a shame. Because
it's a shame, but it was true to the deal.
No. No.
So
I'm not complaining about the deal. I mean, I was on the same side that Lowell was, when he was joining as a creator. So,
because we
looking at it in hindsight, it's like that's kind of a shame that you didn't get part of that, because Malibu Aircell was the original publisher of that. Without the comic, there's no movie.
Yeah, but the deal.
Yeah.
I mean,
the deal is the deal. So
right, and so that's it's comic books has a history of going, the deal is a deal, but it's time for a new deal, and so But
here is a great question. Here, I want to know the answer to this one. Were there any marketing pitches that accounting was afraid to do, something out there or risky? So did anybody come to you guys in accounting and say, "Hey, we're getting ready to do this," and you guys in accounting go, "Wait, that's going to cost us a lot of money"?
Yeah, that was the only thing. We'd go like, "Hey, that national commercial," we'd be like, "That's going to cost a lot of money." And Scott went,
"There's not enough money in the bank to pay for that." Is that what you would say?
Yeah. We really had no say so on that. It was like, yeah, we have money. They're going to do it. This is the plan on that.
It's your job just to send the check.
Yeah, pretty much. It was like, and Scott knew what was going on. He had the monthly financials, so he knew the money was there, and you guys had the whole plan as to what was going to happen and how it was going to work. So the company did get dicey a little bit towards the end, whereas the whole industry was tanking and DC and Marvel are coming in, and all of a sudden, sales are completely down across the board to everybody, and Spartan Printing's calling us going, hey, when are you going to pay us, kind of thing. But I don't know all the behind the scenes deals, but from what I gathered and knowing Scott and everything, remember Scott grew up, he is a comic book geek, from day one kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And selling the company, he made money, but it was one of those, if he had the opportunity to not sell it, I don't think he would have. If there would have been a way to keep it going, and kind of with the old momentum, the Malibu Interactive thing with the video game thing never really took off. Yeah, but it did provide Jeff Godfrey, our first baseman on our softball team, right? And then also Scott Sava. So right there, that was worth it to us. So.
Right, it was a good trade. Like, he came from a real estate family. Scott Rosenberg, and so he was, and from years of talking with him, he did not want to go into real estate. Like, that was not his thing. Like, he was a comic book guy from the get-go. Yeah. And he was buying and selling comics at conventions. Yes. Like, he would go around as a kid, when there was a local convention, he would go around before the dealer's room would open up. He would go around to the dealer's table with his price guide, and he would scoop up the comics that he thought were undervalued, and then he would put them on his table. So he was already wheeling and dealing, and so he loved that kind of stuff. And so for him to not be in the publishing business and to have it sort of come crashing down like that is sad for him. Yeah, it's sad for all of us, really, because it was. And so, but there's, to get back, you mentioned the television.
I think there was a little piece of our heart, all of us. Yeah. At Malibu, I think it was. You can say, okay, well, it was just a job. You guys, you were just making comics and blah blah blah. But I think because Kirk mentioned it earlier about getting to know everyone there. To this day, I've still never ever worked with an accounting department. No one from accounting in any place that I've ever worked has talked to me. But it wasn't unusual that Kirk would come over with a piece of paper in his hand. Hey, I got questions about this stuff right here, right? And he would just ask me questions.
Well, that was a thing too, because if you had a question, you could just walk over to a person. Yeah. And you could just say, look, I don't know what this is. What is this? Yeah.
I can remember one of Kirk's most common questions is like, why are we paying this guy this much money?
Because Kirk has to know,
And then I'd be like, hey, Roland, I've got this superhero. He can detect earthquakes 2 days after they happen. I was just always fascinated by the whole process and the writers, because everybody thinks they can write. Everybody thinks they're funny and all that. And then you go in there and you watch it and see it happen. And it's pretty cool. And Roland, like you said, Malibu was a family. I mean, everybody was pretty darn close back in the day. I remember Rich Dotson, who was in shipping, he and his brother Craig, right? Yeah. Well, Rich Dotson, we run around, and I don't know how this got started, but whenever we saw each other, we would flip each other off, right? So I'm in a meeting, and I'm sitting there, all of a sudden I look to the door with glass. This guy's flipping me off. And then he would like Xerox the little bird, and I'd open up my drawer at work, pull it out, and they got me then. And it was awesome. And it was like, little innocent things like that. The Suddenly Chadwick Show. Who does a Suddenly Chadwick Show other than Malibu? That was awesome.
Chadwick does a Suddenly Chadwick Show.
Yeah. Exactly.
We still talk about the Suddenly Chadwick Show.
We do. Yeah. It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Yeah. And that's where you look at Tommy Chan, and Tommy Chan is the nicest, kindest person you're ever going to meet, soft-spoken. And all of a sudden, after we do our little rap thing, Tommy comes over and just starts cussing me out on there. And when Chadwick was interviewing him, and it was just totally hilarious because it was so not Tom Chan.
Right. He was in character.
Yes.
You had mentioned the television commercials, and I wanted to get back to that because one of the things, I mean, television commercials were definitely expensive, and especially to do a national commercial. But one of the ways that we always tried to figure things out was it's a multi-tiered system. So if you go in and you say, I want my commercial to run at 8 o'clock on a Friday night on CBS, that's really expensive because you've picked the time and you've picked the date and you've picked the show that you want to follow. But if you just go in and say, I'd like to do an ad buy, I will take any unsold time that you have before broadcast. So basically it's like unfilled airline seats. And so and you just say, okay. And so you end up at 3 o'clock in the morning in some areas, but you also end up at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, or, you know, prime at 8 o'clock on prime time. It's a crapshoot, but it's way cheaper if you let them sort of help you dictate where the commercial goes.
Wow. I did not know that.
We were fortunate.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, we were fortunate. We didn't really, as I remember, it's only been 30 years. So we didn't have a lot of strict budgets, if you will. It was kind of the production side ran the company kind of thing. And we just counted the beans afterwards, see if we still had any kind of thing. So we didn't get to Christine Sue, who was my boss. She got to probably, you know, voice her opinion a little louder than we did. We would be like, hey, the Kings are on, or it's softball time. You know, it's like, gotta go.
And she fought for you. She fought for you.
That's 100% right. I fight, Christine Sue, I fight for you. Yes.
So we got first time seeing John's long box here. John's long box. So nice of you to stop in and leave a word with us. It says, hello, I'm reading my #1 bundle as we speak. Sweet. So
that sounds dirty.
Well, so I don't know how much he wants me to give away, but since it's John's long box and he said it, he got a bunch of #1s in our last Kickstarter. He just said, I want the #1s. Send them to me. So I was excited to do that. And John, hopefully you find a whole bunch of stuff in there that you enjoy, and hopefully we see you back for the #2s. Which by the way, we're going to start a Kickstarter on Tuesday. So
I want to bring up something that I always found weird, because it refers to something that Kirk brought up earlier. It's like we had all these odd segments of people in the company. So like the accounting people in Kirk's department, none of them are comic book fans.
Right.
And Kirk, Rob Sutherland, Tommy Chan, nothing. And then we had Carolyn Ferrari and Anna Corsi, who were actually parents. They were family people.
Right.
They had kids in school. They were married, and they've been married for a number of years. And then we had Christine Sue, who was raising her daughter, and we had Scott, who was somewhat of an adult. And then we had the coloring people, who were basically just recently college graduates.
Yeah.
And then we had the production and editorial people, who were like mid-20s, you know, idiots like us. And you mentioned Rich Dodson, and Rich Dodson was like a heavy metal guy.
Right.
And Darren and Ken were like film guys.
Yep.
And so it's just weird conglomeration of things where if you lay it out on the table, you would say, oh, these people can't get along.
This is not going to work. Yeah.
This is a recipe for every possible human resources disaster we could possibly come up with. And
we need to get a human resource person on.
Right. Because we had our weirdnesses and we had some difficulties with and challenges, but it was still better than you could have expected.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, John said, yes, I will back it. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, John.
Well, he's our favorite long box now.
That is good to hear. Yeah, that's right. So we've got another question coming in from Mr. Thomas Flormonti. Thomas says, if you could say, what was a few of the odder checks being written out? Like, what is this for?
That's a good question, Thomas. I'm glad you asked.
I think that was Thomas Sr., and I don't know if there's a Thomas the Third, but that's a great question. One of them that we questioned didn't make any sense to us was a check written to Barry Windsor-Smith.
I knew that had to be one of them. I remember you and I had a conversation about that.
Like just I don't know what. Just send him $1,000. We don't know.
Hey, 3 words: Barry Windsor-Smith.
And of course, we're not comic book people. We don't know them, and so we're like, how much to go?
What are we going to send them money for?
Yeah, it's like to say, hey, I like your comics. I'm like, really? Because I'll do it for like $10, and the check was large. Yeah. It was large. So it was
his signing bonus, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
Tom probably
Wow.
walked a bunch of invoices that were to people, Tom's people. Say, pay these people out.
Yeah.
You're like, he's like, who are these people? It's like, just pay these people.
Pay these people. That's right. You're getting
Well,
paid.
And a lot of them would have to look in the comic itself in the back for some of the credits because we're like, did really 62 people work on this book, Tom? Because I'm not really sure. I got Dad Mason, Mom Mason, Cousin Mason.
And all these Masons. This doesn't make any sense. I don't get it.
My family lives in a castle now, thanks to you, Kirk.
Yeah. Why do you think you moved to Canada?
That's right.
Hey, moved to Canada, eh?
Limitations of-
Oh, thank you, Mr. David Ace Jerez says, I will back it as well. Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Oh, and Roland, to go back to your one question about like why did I read Dinosaurs for Hire in your stuff? Really, because I knew you guys. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, you're right here. I can see you. Obviously, Tom's sense of humor. It's just so to me. I don't know how to describe Tom's sense of humor because you go up and you meet him and you're like, oh, this guy's just a mild-mannered guy. And the next thing you know, you're wetting your pants. You're laughing so hard all the time. And it was just like, I'm like, oh, my gosh. I'm all like, ah. And Tom's just sitting there like just nailing it. Joke.
Yep.
And they're just hilarious. And so his writing was really good. Roland, on your writing, you'd always have the story in there. And at the end, it'd be like a little bit of a cliffhanger. So I'd have to buy the next issue to look at it, which kind of annoyed me because I'm like, stop doing that. I get that's your little writing trick.
You have never read a comic. That's what they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Notice how he said, I'd have to buy the next issue.
No, what is
You
that?
walk to the warehouse.
This is literally what a comic book is. I don't care.
When I walk to the warehouse, I run the risk of getting flipped off by Richard Dawson. That's all. He's hiding back in there.
Yeah, the thing about I tell people about Tom as well. He would walk by, you're sitting there working away, and Tom would just lean down and whisper some joke in your ear, just for you, right? He just lean down and whisper, and then he would just keep walking.
I'm a human resources nightmare, is what I am.
Roll and go. Human resources. HR department.
I would have been. If we'd had a real department, I would have been there every day.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't have been alone. there would have been a lot of kids in ISS, in school suspension and stuff like that. And, there was one, and I won't mention his name. He got suspended for saying some inappropriate things, and he got suspended for a week with pay. So Rob Sutherland generates this request for suspension with pay request and he hands it to me. I want to be suspended for 1 week with pay, Kirk.
What words do I have to say?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't remember that.
Only a deterrent, right?
Oh, Tom says I do.
Made special paperwork for Tom.
It wasn't me though. I know.
No, it was not. It was not Tom. It was like when I first got there, I'm coming from the CPA world and everything's professional and you're wearing suits and ties and everyone is pretty well mannered. And then Malibu, like my first day, everyone's walking in the county department just swearing up a storm. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I did have to implement the swear jar. And it was like, I don't know, about $1,200 later, it was like, people stopped. They started avoiding us because it was like, I better not go in there. It was like, whoa, let's bring down just a little bit.
We were mouthy, free-spirited people.
Well, we mentioned this before live as well. Is that the dress code at Malibu was pretty flex as well. It's like you have to wear clothes. That was pretty much it.
Shoes.
And yeah, well, shoes were I think optional, but they might have been. I don't even know if they were in the guidebook, but there were a handful of people. The first one that comes to mind is Ed Hendricks. Ed would wear his flip flops into the office, leave them under his desk, and then just walk around the office all day long barefoot.
Well, he wore them in. No shirts, no shoes, no entrance, and so he got in, and then he just left them.
Well, that was the other thing too, because in those days, as Image started, and we started to get more attention in sort of the mainstream world, actual real adults would start to show up and wander through the company. They'd be in their suits and ties at business meetings, and they wanted to see all the wacky creative people making their comics. And it's like, so, and you walk in, and we are, and if you come from a suit and tie world, we are not your kind of people. And, so and it was my favorite thing because my office had a window in it, and I would get someone would buzz me and say so and so is coming through the office now, and I would just watch because I wanted to watch them walk
push
through.
all the porn off your desk so that way it wouldn't look so bad.
But because one of the things that was funny to me is that the lights the last big office, the one in Agora Hills, or the one on Agora Road in Calabasas, had been built to show off. It had not been built for actual work, and so it had all these awful fluorescent lights hanging up in the ceiling. Yes. And the colorists were like, we can't work with the fluorescent.
Yeah, we can't tell.
So we said, well,
we're like, it is our job, color.
Yeah, we can't take the lights out. We can't remodel the room. And so, but we encouraged the colorists to start blocking out the fluorescent lights and putting all this duct taping all this cardboard over the lights, and then putting lights on their desks so that it would conform to their own individual space.
The right color. Yeah.
And people would walk in and it would be really, really dark in like half the office.
That'd be the vampire room.
People would just stand in the doorway and just, not sure what to do because it looked sort of gothic in a way. And
it smelled like sage when you went in there.
Should I go in there? I'm not really sure.
Hey, do you remember at that office, at the Calabasas office, originally, where we had all those desks and the funny little squiggly lines that Jerry Klein designed or whatever on the desktop?
Right. I remember those.
In between, they were originally talking about getting hamsters and do a hamster habit trail thing like all throughout the office. Yes. And then somebody at some point says, yeah, but they start eating each other or something like that at some point, and it dropped, is what I heard.
Well, we're trying to encourage any sort of weird thing. Yeah. Because Danko had his saltwater fish tank.
Yeah.
Yes.
He had a tank at the office.
That's right.
Yeah, he had a tank at the office, and we were just anything that, because the hours are crazy and the work can be debilitating. So, and people were there a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so, if somebody says, oh, Kirk's playing softball with a wiffle bat and a piece of aluminum foil, it's like, yeah, okay. He gets
his work done. Leave him alone.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
So, just go back to your desk and do something weird.
Yeah. Right. Leave him alone. Shut up.
There's another question from David A. Gutierrez. He says, what was the head count for Malibu at its largest?
Yeah, I was going to ask that a minute ago.
Oh, I know that.
Well, that's a good I don't know that. We had
Malibu. It was about 120 colorists at one point in time. Just the colorists, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. Like in office, not all of us that worked outside. The people.
So the high number of people on staff.
Yeah, there you go.
It's 165 people in 2 countries.
Ooh.
165. Wow.
And because that included all the video game people, and that included the video game people in Europe, because we had a studio in England or Scotland or something like that.
Yeah. My guess at that question has always been 150. Because I knew we had about 120 colorists at one point in time, just the colorists. So that doesn't count everybody else.
Wow. And that wasn't that the key, or supposedly the key as to why Marvel wanted us, our colorist technology?
Oh, no.
Look at everybody's head shaking. No, that's what the rumor was. So why did they want us?
No, I started that.
Got to read the book. Tom's writing the book. Leave him alone.
Write the book.
In the press release, well, when Marvel bought us, we knew that they wanted to get rid of the coloring department because Marvel had a sweetheart deal with a studio in Ireland, and they wanted to fire our colorists, ship our computers over to Ireland, and look like heroes because they were bringing all this. They're bringing all the Malibu books over to Ireland. They were bringing all the computers over to Ireland.
Ridiculous.
And the guy at Marvel who was in charge of all this would now look like a big hero. And so we planted the seed that Marvel, one of the reasons Marvel bought us was for coloring, because we thought, well, that'll really, that could embarrass them if they suddenly decide to cut loose the coloring department, because that would be one of the reasons that they bought us. And so I helped commit that to Internet Rumor, to pre-Internet Rumor.
And he's been paying for it ever since.
Now, didn't I think her name was Lydia? Is one of our colorists? Didn't she go over to Ireland and
a lot of them
work there? Did they really?
Because here's the thing: is our colorists were better,
right,
and faster.
Cool.
Yeah, and so a lot of them went over there on like a Lend-Lease thing to sort of teach them the techniques that they had developed.
Yeah.
And so I think Jennifer Schellinger went over there.
Yeah.
Eddie went over there, and a couple others went over there. Not all at once, but on like a rotating basis, and just to teach and show off the stuff.
Yeah.
And then I've told this story on air before, but I'll tell Kirk now. Is that so when the coloring department was going to get the axe, Mark Grunwald had a late book at Marvel, and the Irish studio couldn't do it in time for Mark to avoid getting penalized in the office. So Grunwald called up Chris Altman and said, "Look, I need a book done fast, like over a weekend, to save my butt. Can you guys do it?" And Chris put him in with Mike Giles, and Giles said, "Sure, send the pages." Then Giles took like a person from each group and made like an emergency Saturday, Sunday team, and they colored the book over the weekend and sent the book to Grunwald. Grunwald loved it with almost no changes or no notes, and then starts going around the office going, "I got a book done over the weekend. I got a book done over the weekend." And so, so then all the other guys at Marvel who had late books were like, I want to get that deal too. So then, then the book started coming over from Marvel, and then it became like it was too much for Marvel's manufacturing guy to handle anymore, because the editors demanded that the books come over to Malibu. So,
yeah.
And they were on time every time.
Right. Yeah. Well, because the great thing about the coloring department is that those people were good and they worked together as teams, and they were like mini groups of friends and coworkers inside the larger group, and they were really great at teaching each other stuff.
Yeah.
Because all the technology was new, and I remember every time somebody would find out a new thing, there'd be a gathering of people around the computer.
Always.
Like, how did you do that? And the person would just be going, "Well, I did this and I did that," and then they'd be,
right, yeah. Oh,
what Photoshop can do.
It's like watching fireworks, you know. It's like,
yeah. You know, it may be unfair, but I still, to this day, I still hold. Anytime I'm talking to someone about coloring or something like that, I'm like, okay, well, can you do this though? Because Malibu could 30 years ago.
That's funny.
And wouldn't they like sit there for, I'm assuming they were like 8-hour shifts, and they would just sit there and color and like not move kind of thing. Just amazing.
They did pay
unless
us,
the food truck was there.
They did pay us per page.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's up to you if you want to be, you know, paid or not paid.
I think because originally it was going to be, I think, and Roberta, correct me if I'm wrong, originally they were on salary, and that was that, and then Giles developed a tiered page system.
I remember being on, I think I was hourly, and then there was a commission.
Yeah, I think there was, as I remember, there was only a couple.
And then what happened is that they developed the tier because they wanted levels of you know, detail. Because you could put a book out faster, you know, and it could still look good, but you know, it just, or like that took you 1 hour, this book took you 3 hours. Are you going to pay the person the same? You know?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And what we call those gold and silver and bronze, right?
Bronze,
yeah. And that wasn't necessarily, I will say this as an editor, that wasn't necessarily determined by the editor. That was determined kind of by probably Tom and and Marky. And I think a lot of times those were based on, I guess, what was sold.
Yeah.
Because like Prototype wasn't gold.
No, Prototype wasn't gold, but Rune was, because it was Barry.
Yes. Right.
And so some of that was obviously political.
Yeah.
And some of that was you know,
based on put a little more rendering in there.
Yeah. And based on how mad. Well, also if you're coloring for Barry Windsor Smith, Barry's going to have a lot of notes, and so it's a process.
Yeah, it's a process.
He's the Shohei Ohtani of comic books. You're gonna treat him a little better.
Yeah.
And
Fruitbat says yes. I can do that. And then he says, Photoshop, Painter, Clip Studio, other, we can sort it out.
Some of those weren't invented then.
Yeah, there's nothing like that.
Procreator, Clip,
It was just Photoshop, wasn't it, Roberta?
It was Photoshop. I came in, really early. I'm trying to think. It was 2.5.
Yeah.
And there was a limit of how many channels you could have.
Yeah.
And we'd
None.
say
Not at 2.5. No layers. No layers at all back then.
No such thing as layers.
No,
and what you do is you decided what deserves an alpha channel on what you might change.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to and to save it, it would take a long time to save, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it would even take a long time. It would take. We had to zoom way in, and just the screen. Just because of the way that video graphics were, they took up so much memory that there would be a lag as you're panning. And so you'd have like an open selection, pray it wouldn't close on you as you're scooching across the page.
It's like talking to cavemen and their paintings.
Well, you had to have an idea in your head, where you're going with it first. Right. Otherwise, it'd be really hard.
Well, that was the other thing too. We had to have a rule that said stop going over to the coloring department and bothering them.
Yeah.
Because they're actually working constly, whereas all the other people we're just goofing around.
We have breaks though.
You guys have any other questions for Kirk?
Well, I've got my one question I always ask a Malibu person, but now I'm going to add Tom and Roberta into it. So Kirk,
good.
What is the most embarrassing thing that you remember about Roland, Tom, and Roberta? What can you say? One mostly Roland, but what about the other two? I always ask when we get a Malibu person, and what's the most embarrassing thing that you remember? Your most embarrassing story.
Roland's is really going to tie into a softball game that we had in the semifinal.
Roland's good at softball.
I know where this one is going.
So we're playing this team. We're up by, I think, 1 run. Ball's hit to third base, and runner's on third. He breaks for home. Rob Sullivan's playing third. Tommy Chance catching. I'm at shortstop. Roland's a second. In the league, the rule is slider, get out of the way. Well, the guy just runs over Tommy Chance, just nails him, and Tommy goes flying. Tommy holds onto the ball. The runner's out. The batter comes around. He's on second base. So we've got 2 outs. So the next guy comes up. It's a line drive to Rob at third. Rob catches it. So that's out number 3. The inning's over. Well, the guy who was on second kind of comes jogging, and Rob slaps the tag on him. And then so the guy goes to shove Rob back. Well, the rule is if you get thrown out of a game, you can't play the next game. Well, if we win this game, we're in the championship. So I run and I push Robbie out of the way because he's really our best player to get him out of the way. And as I turn around, here comes Roland Mann rocking the mullet, coming at top speed across the field, and he chest bumps this guy. And I was like, all heck is going to break out now. And we had fans trying to come on the field and stuff like that.
Oh, golly.
Wow.
We won that game, and we won the championship. So,
did Roland get booted?
He did not. Neither did Raw. Was that the one you were remembering, Roland?
Yeah.
He's a lucky man.
Or there's another one.
Rob never let me live that one down either.
The other one was I was kind of I was a player coach, and so I screamed at everyone the entire time, and I wanted 100% all the time, right? And Roland's wife, BJ, she would film some of the games.
Oh, yeah.
So there's one where Roland's coming around third. He's just kind of like in his Mississippi speed there, just kind of taking it easy, coming down, and scores easily. And all of a sudden, as you see him come around home plate, you just see me following him right into the dugout. As he sits down, I'm just yelling at him, run next time, run faster than
Run fast.
Man.
I wasn't always the favorite as the coach. I can say that honestly. It's kind of true. Tom Mason, I really had nothing on him except for Tom. All of a sudden, after I quit playing softball and everything,
book, so you want to be careful.
Yeah, exactly. Well, all of a sudden, Tom decides, well, Kirk's not playing, so I'm going to play softball now. And Tom was very good. And I think one time as I'm watching the game, he's running down first baseline. The infield throw comes across, clocks him in the head, and bounces like another 20 feet, right? Well, Tom just nothing. Just goes back to first base. I would have been on the ground crying and screaming like a 4-year-old. Tom's like, what? I got nothing. And not a problem at all.
Metal plate. That's what Tom.
Metal plate. Knocked about 3 jokes out his ear.
Well, he was in concussion protocol for a couple of days, but he was fine. No, that was long before that.
Actually, I woke up the next day and my jaw was dislocated.
Really?
Yeah, because it
just got hit. Good. Yeah, that was
hit really hard.
Your head moved sideways, but your jaw stayed the same.
I had to hit you in the jaw and not your head.
Ow.
No, because it hit me in the jaw.
Oh.
And I had to wear a mouth guard to sort of put my face back together.
Oh no!
I didn't feel it the day of. It was only after I woke up the next morning.
I know what you mean.
That's right. It's like, oh, my face.
Why am I talking like this? This is kind of weird.
My then wife thought I'd had a stroke.
No, I just got hit in the head with a ball. What about Roberta? We got to have one for Roberta.
So I don't. The colorist, like I say, I knew a few of them and just handed paychecks most of the time. So I don't. They were probably making fun of us more than anything else if they had time, because it was like Tom said, they were getting paid hourly at one point. It was like, gotta go. And and I'd walk over there and go, what's up? And tell like, get out of here.
Yeah, they had no time for us, really.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think we just said hello and that's it.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I think it was,
very, very
give me my check and leave, please.
Yeah.
Well,
it was usually just the captains that I personally talk. I mean, any of them that would talk, I would talk to them. But it was the captains that would that pretty much talk to me about the books.
Also, I was intimidated by them because they were doing something I didn't really understand, and so I can't just say, "Hey, what's going on?" And then they would start to talk to me, and it would be like some foreign language to me. Well, I've got some layers here, and I'm working on the Photoshop thing, and I've got I need
never mind.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna go back to first grade now because I
go pretty.
Yeah, because it's
and Roberta probably remembers this. But the only thing I would say is like, okay, cool. Can you make that a color hold?
You did say that a lot.
Roland discovers color holds.
I love it. Ask Tommy, man. I love those color holds. He and I would talk on the phone. He would say, "Hey, I want to do this color hold. I want to do it on the acetate overlay." I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool." Or vellum overlay. Do it. Yeah. So
I like color holds.
Yeah, I think that's probably why Roberta and I got along so well immediately, because she liked doing them too.
I like doing them.
Yeah, we got the color hold thing going on.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Mike is still here.
I'm just absorbing. I'm absorbing.
You got any questions, Mike?
I think I'm good. You guys are
all right.
Rambling on.
So Kirk, what would you say opportunity maybe for one of your fondest memories from Malibu, and then also should you want to say anything, what's something you look back and say, I really wish this hadn't happened when I was there, kind of thing. We're very positive.
I really wish then.
So I wish they had stolen.
I really wish they hadn't stolen Marvel. I really wish we had, if we could have kept the company going, the Malibu Interactive thing just didn't work, unfortunately, and that drained cash. And with the comic book market kind of getting oversaturated, if you will, at that time, if we could have maneuvered our way through all that and kept it going, it would have been even more fun to see where it went. Yeah. I remember a quote from Tom saying that when we moved from Westlake Village to Calabasas, he was, as I remember it, and again, he was like, as soon as you start putting up walls, things change. When people get offices, the things change. And all of a sudden, it when we got to Calabasas, everything was kind of separated. It was bigger and slightly more corporate, but it was not the intimate setting it was back in Westlake Village.
Yeah. Everybody
and that was just growth on that. Yeah. Like I say, if Scott could have, selling it was not his top priority by any stretch of the means. And it would have been fun if we could have kept that going and seen where it would have gone if we could have maneuvered through all of that.
Yeah.
Scott's a big Scott is a big roller of the dice.
Mm-hmm.
And he fervently believes that things, if we just figure it out, things will work out. And it did for a long. I mean, that was the business plan for a long time, and it worked out great. And then when both the video game industry started to tank and the comic book industry started to tank, there's no more dice to roll.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah. And it's a shame we weren't quite far enough ahead. We were. I always think that we were on the right path with Darren Doan and Ken Dario and the film department. It's a shame that we just weren't one step further than what we were, so that could generate that influx of like the Marvel movies are doing now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Also, I wish we had TikTok back then, because then we would be instead of playing wiffle ball with aluminum foil, we'd all be making 30 TikToks a day.
Yeah.
We know Darren would have. Definitely.
Yeah. Darren would have been going around the office making TikToks of all of us.
Right. Yeah.
Darren, I'm trying to work. Leave me alone.
He was awesome. And that's it. I mean, out of all those people, and Tom, like you said, all these different people, personalities, different groups and everything, we all got along. And it was a fun kind of family atmosphere thing. It was just a lot of fun. And if people worked overtime, they didn't really mind, because it was just, hey, I need to get this done for whatever department it was. They needed to get it done because it had a deadline.
Yeah.
And so you didn't mind doing it.
Well, and then there's usually a half dozen other people who are staying late too, and then and most of you will go out to dinner later. So it would just sort of roll over into your personal life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I have a question. What are you doing now, Kirk?
That is a great one.
Oh, I'll just keep it serious. I was thinking, what can I say that'd be really funny, but that's not that.
It's the softest of softball questions.
I know. My wife can hear on the other side of the wall there, so I got to be careful.
Okay.
She doesn't know, but I've been sitting at the house doing nothing.
Yeah. Don't tell anyone. Okay, just between us.
Yeah. Yeah. No one's watching this anyway, Kirk. So
we know David is.
That's true. That's true.
Fruit bat.
What? Yeah. So we know David and Fruit Bat and
Mr. Longbox.
Yeah.
Oh, that Flormani guy.
Yeah. And what I'm doing now is when I moved back, I went back to the old accounting firm that I'd worked for about 4 years out of college. When I was in LA, they called me back up and said, "Hey, are you interested? We've got this position. Do you want to come back?" And when I'd left El Paso, I never dreamed about moving back.
Right.
But then, some opportunities were, one, I could afford a house here. Two, I used to do a bunch of work with kids with cancer. I would be a counselor at their summer camp every year. And so this way I'd get to see them throughout the year. My parents were here and everything, so I came back. Eventually, now I'm a partner in my accounting firm, and actually now the managing partner. My good friend who was the managing partner cut back a lot and said, "Here, now you do all this crazy stuff." So, and I focus primarily on not-for-profit organizations. So don't be firing a bunch of tax questions at me. So I drive tax people crazy with my answers.
So the answer is he became an adult.
And I'm trying to figure out where the last 40 years of my life went, because it's been full of stuff, but it's like, it's like my son's 19 and I'm like, and he's in college and I'm like, I think I'm like with him in college. And he's like,
"No, Dad, that happened."
So one final thing for me is, how great is Rob Sutherland at shortstop?
Oh, dude, he's not playing anymore. He's had a few ACL injuries and stuff, but very good. Roller hockey, excellent. We still talk my birthday, his birthday, Christmas Eve, and everything. And what's funny is every time we'll talk for an hour and a half, and we relive every softball game we ever played. So. He's doing good. Tommy Chan's doing good. I talk to Tommy once or twice a year. He's doing good. So yeah.
Good. Well, it's good to see you.
Yeah. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're hooking up with them. That's good. Roland will take care of you, hopefully. So.
It doesn't matter. I do this for free.
That's right.
This is my fun Sunday.
Yeah.
The old Dire Straits, get your money for nothing and your chicks for free. Nice. Nice.
Yeah. We had, I think I told you, Kirk, when I first reached out to you, I said, look, we just have a lot of fun sitting around talking about, mostly talking about comics. But as of late, we've kind of been on a little former Malibu reunion tour. So that's been a lot of fun.
Always.
Are there comics in your life today, Kirk?
No, there's not. Sorry, just not.
You ever go to any comic shops?
Free.
They're not free anymore.
That's true. Roland will say you have one or two.
Yeah, they're not. I got to join his Kickstarter, and it costs me money to get some. Come on.
Yeah, Roland's right there. You could,
Yeah, we do have in El Paso Comic Con comes through every year. A couple of years ago, Billy D. Williams was one of the guests, and I went to see him because not that I have a personal connection with him, but from the old movie Brian song about Gale Sayers and Brian Piccolo, he played Gale Sayers in that. So I wanted to go meet him on that. But yeah, they've got a pretty good one. Again, they had it for a couple of years, and it just kind of died off.
I think Ben Dunn goes to that on a regular.
Yeah, probably so, because it's it's really good, and people are all in the cosplay and everything, and it's interesting. I remember the first time I went to Comic-Con is I agreed to start working for Malibu and hadn't started yet. So I go down there and I see this long line of 500 people waiting to get in, and I'm like,
"Is it San Diego?"
Yeah, in San Diego. So this would have been 92 in San Diego. And I'm like, these people are not in line to go to this comic book convention. There's no way, right?
Yeah, they were.
And so I do what I always do. Just act like you know what you're doing and walk in. And so like there's people everywhere. The doors open, and I just walked right in, didn't pay admission or anything. And then I got to Malibu Style. Scott's like, hey, do you have a tag? No, I sure don't. So he gives me the little thing. So now I'm legit being in there and everything. And then you see all that. And obviously Comic-Con then versus now is completely different. Completely different.
That's much more. You would not be able to sneak in again.
No.
Yeah. No.
Without being tased, at least, huh?
Kirk, Mr. David Ace Gutierrez says he's taking you to Cattleman's when he comes to for a visit. So
nice.
There you go.
Nice. That's very good.
David, you'll make sure you get a picture so that you can send it to us, and we can put it on our social media.
Don't let anybody photobomb you.
Fruitbat says, did Tommy do his promised TikTok dance yet?
That's a good question.
Yeah, you didn't see it? It's on there. Go check it out.
He did it, but only for his wife.
Yeah. So, Kirk, anything you want to add? We've gone a little longer than we usually do.
Well, hey, you told me we're going for 3 hours. That's right, right?
So, well, I got to eat dinner. I'll come back in about an hour. See if y'all are still talking.
No, it's Malibu brings back nothing but good memories. I mean, so many great people worked there. It was a lot of fun. Like I said, it would be fun to go back and do that again. I learned a lot of not so much the accounting side of it, but how to run a business and things they did right, things you could do better, kind of thing. Yeah. So I learned a lot there. It was, like I said, it was a lot of fun. It was just one big family, and very, very enjoyable.
Yeah.
And now to this, what I do is every time I go to a movie as an accountant and to start rolling the credits, you have to stay until they roll the credits for the account. So, so I am the last one in the movie theater. I mean, I'm like, woo!
Yeah, I'm accounting.
And now you guys are gonna do it too, because you'll be like, oh. So
that's right. We're gonna get a picture when it happens. So Kirk, be sure to we'll chat a little bit once we go off the air. So be sure to hang around a little bit. Tuesday coming up, y'all. We've got that Tuesday group says planning out a productive year. The gang talks about how they go about planning out a year of work in the comics industry, from production schedules to con schedules. Here's how you maximize your 2024. That's our Tuesday bunch on Malibu.
Sounds like
on Wednesday. The Wednesday Whammers are having children and comics. Does having children of your own change your view of comics? That's an interesting topic. That sounds pretty interesting. Next week, right here, we're going to have former Spider-Man editor, Mr. Danny Fingerroth, and we are going to ask him all of the Spider-Man questions. So you guys tune in and get your Danny Fingerroth questions ready. He has a new book he's going to want to talk about Jack Ruby, I think.
Did you remember that I did stuff for him?
Probably, yeah. Editors have better memories than inkers usually.
I bet he will.
So you guys make sure you tune in for that, and that's this week. We do have a Kickstarter going to launch on Tuesday. All that information will be, hopefully you're following the page. All that information will be in our newsletter, which will go out early Tuesday morning. So be sure that you are following that. And until then, you guys know what to do. Let me get my clicker up here.
This coffee's hot.
Until then, remember to make mine Silverline.
Oh no, I spilled it all over my computer.
Hi, my name is Paul Kupperberg. Make mine Silverline.